Hey guys. Tonight we drift far, far back, so far that names don't exist. Language barely flickers, and nothing has a reason. You wake in a world where the sun rises. Not because it's commanded or praised, but because it just does. The sky doesn't care. The earth doesn't whisper. There are no gods, no spirits, no higher purpose, just wind and dirt and breath. And you probably won't survive this. There are no charms to protect you, no prayers to mutter, no omens to heed. There's only the chill in your bones and the sound of something crunching nearby. Could be your next meal. Could be your last moment. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know your location and local time in the comments. I love imagining where you're tuning in from as we drift through these ancient nights. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink into the morning haze. The world greets you with no explanation. A bird shrieks overhead. You flinch, but not because it means anything. It's just sound, just survival. You stretch, scratch, rise from a bed of flattened grass and ache. You walk with no destination. You eat when you find something that doesn't taste like poison. You drink from streams because you must. You don't ask why the river flows downhill. You don't wonder who carved the valley, who put fish in the water, or where the sun goes when it sinks behind the trees. Because you don't even know there are such questions. Here's your historical fact. Before humans developed belief systems, their lives were governed by instinct and immediate need. The earliest Homo sapiens, and our hominin cousins, lived in a world experienced moment to moment. Without myth, God, or metaphysical explanation, you're in that world now. Fringe tidbit. Some scholars propose that consciousness itself emerged in layers, and that the ability to imagine something not there may have taken millennia to evolve. So right now, your mind isn't even ready for magic, just motion. Historians still argue whether early humans had emotional awareness without symbolic thought. Could they grieve without myth? Could they marvel without personifying? Was it possible to be in awe without the idea of the divine? You don't know. Not yet. Because today is just hunting and firewood and a stomach that groans louder than the wind. And when the sun sets, you don't thank it. You just wait for it to come back. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. No one knows. No one asks. Because in this world, the stars don't tell stories. They're just cold, bright, silent eyes that don't watch anything. The rain starts as a whisper, a soft pattering on leaves above you. You don't flinch at first. Rain is just water, and water is good. But then the clouds deepen, the air sharpens, and the sky, the sky, starts to growl. You pause, soaked, half curled under a crooked tree. You've heard this before, that sudden, cracking sound that splits the world open. And then it comes, lightning. A jagged white line slices the sky in two. You feel it in your chest more than you see it, an electric punch that rattles your ribs. Thunder follows instantly, a roar that makes your whole group freeze like prey. Not in reverence, not in awe, in sheer, sound-shattered reflex. Because you don't yet have a story for this. You don't think it's a voice, or a punishment, or a message from the heavens. It's just loud, it's just dangerous. And yet, something in you shivers deeper than your skin. Here's your mainstream historical fact. For early humans, thunder and lightning were purely environmental forces, understood only by their immediate effects. Like fire, fear, or flight, belief in storm gods came much later. Once patterns and personification entered our mental toolkit. Right now, there is no storm god. There's just the storm, but you feel the edge of something. The tree above you sizzles, then explodes. You scream, though it's more of a full body spasm. Splinters fly. One of them cuts your arm. You don't cry out in pain. You just crawl. Your body knows this is a thing to avoid, even if your brain doesn't know what it is. Fringe tidbit. Some anthropologists believe fear of lightning may have seeded the first cognitive division between normal and extraordinary events. Experiences that didn't follow the rules of daily life. In short, lightning wasn't just dangerous. It was strange. You're still huddled under the brush when it passes. The storm stomps off, muttering through the hills. And you rise, drenched, chest pounding, still very much alive. You glance at the smoldering tree trunk. Charred, smoking, a gash through the bark wide enough to hide in. You don't touch it, but you remember it. Because this was different. Not the way a predator growls. Not the way fire burns. Something bigger happened. You can't name it. You can't ask about it. But when the sky cracks open like that again, you'll run. You'll run not just from the noise, but from the feeling that something out there is bigger than you. And it doesn't care if you survive, the body is still. You kneel beside it, your knees pressing into wet leaves. Your fingers hovering but not quite touching. The breath has left, quietly. Sometime in the night, and now they lie there. Mouth open, chest still, eyes half lidded with a softness that feels wrong. No one cries. Crying isn't a thing yet, not in the way we know it. But the group is silent. Tense. Mood. You shift back to make room. One of the older ones walks forward with a stick. They prod the chest. Still unmoving. Still silent. Still gone. And you feel it. The absence. Not the soul. There's no word for that. Not a spirit. You don't know the concept. Just gone. Here's your historical fact. Some of the earliest burials show no sign of ritual, no grave goods. No body positioning, no offerings, just simple interment, likely to protect the group from disease, smell, or predators. Death, at first, was a problem to manage, not a mystery to solve. You dig. It's cold. The earth clumps. You're not burying out of respect. You're burying because the body won't get up, and leaving it nearby attracts animals. Still, you don't rush. Someone hands you a rock tool. You press it into the soil around their feet. You glance at their face, now speckled with rain, and something lingers in your chest. Grief, maybe, but not grief with stories. Just the ache of an empty spot in the world. Fringe tidbit. In some pre-religious sites, archaeologists have found shallow graves covered with stones, suggesting early humans may have felt the need to protect or contain the dead, though no one knows exactly why. You lower the body, cover it, press down the dirt, not too hard, not too soft. No words, no chants, just the rhythm of hands on soil. Historians still argue whether this was empathy or practicality. Was it the beginning of respect for the dead? Or just a method to avoid consequences of leaving them behind? For you, it's neither. It's just strange. That's someone who once laughed beside the fire. Who handed you berries. Who walked ahead of you in silence. Could suddenly stop. You sit beside the mound. The others leave. You stay. Not for answers. Not for peace. Just to feel it. The stillness. The missing. The uncomfortable truth that no one says out loud. Not because they're afraid, but because they don't know how. You will also be still one day. And no one knows what that means. The fire crackles behind you, casting flickers of gold against the backs of the trees. You're not looking at it though. You're staring into the dark. The kind of dark that isn't just absence of light. It's full, like a cave with no walls. Like something is out there, not watching, not breathing, but there. You scoot a little closer to the flame. Not because you're cold. You're not. Not really. It's just that the hairs on your arms are standing up again. And every time the leaves rustle or a branch cracks, you flinch. Quietly. Internally. Because out here in the black, even your own thoughts feel loud. You don't believe in monsters. You don't believe in anything yet. But fear? Oh, you've got plenty of that. Here's your historical fact. Long before humans formed spiritual frameworks, they had fear, raw, reflexive, and deeply tied to survival. Fear of the dark, of predators, of isolation, all deeply ingrained through millennia of danger. Tonight, you're living in that reflex. You stare toward the tree line. Wide-eyed. The dark presses closer. You grip a stone, not to fight something. Just to have something. You hear a sound. Something shifting. Maybe a boar. Maybe nothing. Your breathing hitches. Fringe tidbit. In many animal species, including early primates, fear responses are exaggerated in low-light environments, suggesting that dread of darkness might be a biological inheritance rather than a cultural one. You were born afraid of night. You just didn't need a god to explain it yet. You don't call out. Who would answer? There are no names for protection. No chance to drive danger away. But still, you whisper. Not words. Just sound. A little hum. Low. Repetitive. It makes you feel less alone. Someone else joins the sound from across the fire. You both pretend it's for fun. But it's not. It's your first shield. Not made of bark or bone. But rhythm. Because if you keep making noise, maybe whatever's in the dark won't come. Historians still argue whether early vocalizations, song, chant, hum, came from celebration or fear. But here, now, you hum to fill the space between the flame and the forest. And slowly, the fear thins. You curl near the fire and close your eyes. And when something howls in the far-off dark, you stay still, because it hasn't found you yet. And if you're lucky, it never will. The moon is high tonight. You lie on your back in the tall grass. The fire crackling nearby, but you're not watching the flames. You're watching the sky. Not because it means anything, not yet, but because it's strange. The way the stars don't move. Not like you do. The way the moon changes shape slowly. Like it's hiding something. Like it's playing a quiet game above your head. But you don't think that yet. You just stare. And squint. And wonder. Without realizing that's what you're doing. Here's your historical fact. Early humans likely observed celestial bodies long before attaching meaning to them. Star patterns and lunar cycles were noticed and recorded long before being mythologized. You're in that noticing stage now. The moon is brighter than it was 2 nights ago. You remember that. You're sure of it. You don't know the word, cycle. But your eyes know change. And your brain, it twitches at patterns. Even if you don't know what to do with them yet. You roll onto your side and point toward a cluster of stars. Someone beside you looks. You both grunt softly. That one looks like something. Maybe a claw. Maybe a tree branch. Maybe nothing at all. Fringe tidbit. Some of the oldest cave art may reflect constellations. Patterns in the sky sketched onto walls before written language existed. Meaning came later. For now, shapes. You don't believe the stars are gods. Or ancestors. Or messages. You just see them. And feel them. Far. Constant, cold, unreachable, yet oddly reassuring. They don't change the way food rots or how fast wolves run. But they're there, every night. That's something. Historians still argue whether sky watching led to belief, or belief led to sky watching. But what you're doing now isn't religion. It's just attention. And attention becomes curiosity. You start sleeping in the same direction every night, facing that crooked star. Just in case it moves. It never does. You begin to expect it. To rely on it. It becomes part of your evening. Not because it's holy, but because it's predictable. And in a world that chews you up and swallows your friends and sends storms without warning. One little constant light feels almost comforting. Not sacred. Not yet. But you keep staring. Just in case it starts with a sound. A low trill in your throat. A mimic of something you heard in the trees earlier. Maybe a bird, maybe not. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to become it. You're just echoing, testing. It feels good. The air moves differently when the sound comes from you. Like you've stolen a piece of the forest's voice. You do it again. Another joins in. Someone mimicking your mimic. You glance over. Your eyes meet. Just briefly. And something unspoken passes between you. Not magic, not meaning, just connection. Here's your historical fact. Early humans likely developed mimicry as a precursor to language. Echoing animal calls and environmental sounds before assigning symbolic meaning. Sound before syntax. Feeling before phrasing. You take a stick and drag it across a log. It scratches in a way that reminds you of wind through branches. You smile. No reason. Just joy. Fringe tidbit. Some researchers believe rhythm, mimicry, and repetition formed the bedrock of ritual behavior, long before ritual had structure or purpose. The repetition came first. The meaning came later. Tonight, around the fire, the group is quieter, not tense, just still. Someone taps two stones together. Clink, clink, clink. Someone else hums. A third rocks side to side in rhythm. It's not music, not quite, but it wants to be. You join in, scratching your stick again. For a few minutes, the group isn't just a cluster of hungry bodies. It's something else, something doing the same thing at the same time. There's no God here, no prayer, but there is rhythm, and rhythm feels like agreement. Historians still argue whether ritual behavior emerged from spiritual yearning or from social cohesion, the need to bind people through shared repetition. You don't care why, you just like the sound. You hum again. The tune doesn't go anywhere. It loops, circles, pulses, and then it stops. And no one speaks, but no one leaves, either. The fire crackles, the night breathes, and your body feels like it belongs to more than just itself. You fall asleep with a stick still in your hand, not because it meant anything, but because, for a few moments, it almost did. The stone is just a stone. You know that. You've seen 1,000 like it, cracked, rough, sun-bleached, half buried in the dirt. But this one has a face. Not a real one, not carved by wind or water. You carved it. A scratch here, a curve there, two little holes for eyes, a notch for a mouth. Nothing complicated, just enough to make it look familiar. And now, it's looking back at you. You squint, turn it side to side, hold it to the firelight. It's still a rock, but also, somehow, not just a rock anymore. Here's your historical fact. The earliest known anthropomorphic carvings date back over 30,000 years. Simple faces or figures etched into stone, ivory, or bone, often without clear function. No one knows exactly why they were made. You don't know why either. But once the eyes are there, you can't unsee them. You show someone else. They grunt, tilt their head, take the stone, turn it, hand it back. No one says anything. But later, you find them scratching lines into bark. Not shapes, not symbols, just trying. Fringe tidbit. In many pre-belief cultures, objects that watched or listened became special, early proto-idols. Possibly seen as lucky or dangerous, even if no spirit was named. Not gods, not yet, but the first flirtation with presence. You tuck the face stone near your bedding. Not out of fear, just caution. It's ridiculous. You know, it's rock. You made the eyes. And yet, before you sleep, you turn it so the face looks outward. You tell yourself it's to keep bugs off your blanket. But part of you, deep and quiet, wonders, what if it remembers me? Historians still argue whether the urge to personify objects came from boredom, creativity, or a buried instinct to believe. But tonight, the wind shifts, the fire pops, a branch snaps in the dark, and your hand instinctively reaches for the stone. Not for protection, for witness, because if something out there sees you, you want something to see back. The forest breathes differently at night. You hear it in the way the leaves rustle, not wind. Exactly, but movement. You feel it on your skin, a tingle that rises along your spine without reason. The fire behind you is low now, more ember than flame, but you don't want to feed it. You don't want to look away. Because something is out there. Not something you can name, not something you've seen, but something your body insists is watching. You shift your weight, slowly, carefully. Your eyes scan the trees, the brush, the space between the shadows. Nothing. And yet, your heart beats like there's everything. Here's your historical fact. Even before structured belief systems, early humans displayed behaviors suggesting a sensitivity to unseen presence, hesitations, avoidance of certain places, and fear reactions to ambiguous stimuli. The forest at night? It's always been a place of imagined dangers. You stand, not boldly, not in challenge, you just can't stay sitting. There's no word for this fear, no concept of the supernatural. But the sensation is there, tight and ancient and undeniable. Fringe tidbit. Some researchers suggest that fear of invisible threats may have primed the human brain to invent entities that explain them, spirits, demons, gods. But you're still in the pre-explanation phase. You just feel. You pace the edge of the firelight. Not too far, just enough to be near the dark, to show you're not afraid, even though you absolutely are. You whisper to yourself, not words, just the sound of your breath. It helps. A little. Someone nearby sits up, looks at you. You nod. They don't ask what's wrong. No one has the language for wrong yet. But they move closer anyway. And together, you sit, staring into the trees, listening. Nothing comes. But something stays. Historians still argue whether supernatural belief came from dreams, fear, or narrative instinct. But long before the mind can imagine a god, it feels the weight of uncertainty pressing from the dark. And in that space, before gods, before myths, before names, you know only this. The forest sees you. And you don't know if that's good or bad. There's a sound by the fire, a high-pitched cry. Sharp, sudden, and unmistakably new. You turn. It's the child. They're slick with blood and sweat, skin flushed and limbs flailing. The mother lies back, eyes half closed, breathing fast, her body still trembling from the effort. No one claps, no one weeps, no one says, "Congratulations." But everyone feels it. This is life. Loud, wet, and immediate. You crouch nearby, not too close, just watching. The child mewls, their chest rises and falls. They're alive. That's all that matters. There's no blessing, no name, no sense that anything has granted this gift. Birth is messy, exhausting, dangerous, and it happens with no ceremony, no omen, just blood and breath. Here's your historical fact. In early human societies, childbirth was likely a communal experience, but without structured rites or religious framing, more focused on survival than sanctity. The sacredness came later. Right now, it's just biology. The group gathers, forming a quiet circle. Some reach out to touch the child, gently. Others pass food toward the mother. Everyone's alert. Birth attracts predators, of all kinds. You feel something stir in your chest. Not belief, not yet, but wonder. That this tiny, squalling creature just arrived. From where? How? Why? You don't ask those questions aloud, but you think them. Fringe tidbit. Some cave sites include red ochre and symbolic markings near remains of infants, suggesting early associations between birth, blood, and meaning, even before formalized belief. Not doctrine, just intuition. The child sneezes, everyone jumps. Then someone laughs, just once, a quiet bark of surprise. And somehow, it lifts the mood. You pass a warmed root to the new mother. She takes it without looking. Still dazed, the baby nurses. Historians still argue whether childbirth was seen as sacred before gods existed, or if the act itself birthed belief. When did we start seeing life not just as function, but as mystery? You don't know. But as night falls and the baby sleeps, your eyes drift to the sky again. Same stars, same moon, same questions, louder now. Because if something can begin like that, maybe something else started you. You wake sweating, chest heaving, the dream still clinging to you like smoke. It wasn't a nightmare, not exactly. But it was strange. You saw someone who shouldn't be there. Someone who's already gone. You saw their face, their movements, the way they used to laugh when berries stained their teeth. They looked at you, reached toward you, and then vanished. You sit up, rubbing your eyes. The fire is low. Everyone else is asleep, except one person across the circle, watching you. Quiet. Their head tilts in recognition. They've had that dream before too. No one talks about it. Not yet. Dreams are just dreams, right? But something about this one lingers. Here's your historical fact. Archaeologists believe the earliest stirrings of spiritual belief may have come from dreams of the dead, visits from people long gone. Seen again vividly in sleep. The mind makes ghosts before it makes gods. You glance toward the shallow grave from a few days ago. The earth is packed firm. But suddenly, it doesn't feel closed. You lie back down, try to forget, but your eyes keep flicking toward the shadows. Because the dream wasn't just a memory. It felt real. Fringe tidbit. Some indigenous cultures believe dreams are a meeting ground, where the spirits of the dead come to offer guidance, warnings, or company. You don't have that framework yet. But still, you hesitate before sleeping again. You remember their face, their touch, how vivid it was. And you wonder, where did they come from? And if they came back, why? Historians still argue whether dreams influenced the invention of the afterlife, or whether belief shaped the way we dream. Chicken, meat egg, spirit, meat sleep. You turn onto your side. Close your eyes. But now, every flicker behind your eyelids feels like a door. And you're not sure what's waiting behind it. Someone you miss? Or something you don't yet have a word for. You drift off slowly. Not afraid. Just curious. Because sleep, it seems, might be more than rest. It might be contact. The meal is simple, roots, berries, a bit of lizard cooked on a flat stone, but tonight, something is different. Before you eat, you pause. Not long, just a second. You glance toward the edge of the clearing, where the earth is freshly turned, where your friend, the one from the dream, is buried. You don't say anything. No one does. But you place a sliver of roasted root near the mound. Not for ants. Not for animals. For them. You don't know why. You just feel it's right. Here's your historical fact. Some of the earliest known graves include food offerings, simple items like meat, seeds, or tools, suggesting an early sense that the dead might need something on the other side. These weren't yet religious rituals. But they were gestures. You sit back down and eat slowly. No one mentions the offering. But you see the glances. One by one, a few others add small things, half a cracked nut, a red berry, a smooth pebble. Not out of fear, out of memory. Fringe tidbit. There are burial sites where offerings appear only with certain individuals, perhaps elders or leaders, indicating early ideas of status or sacredness. Even before formalized belief systems. You're not thinking about gods. Not yet. But you are thinking about continuity. That maybe, just maybe, they're not gone. Not fully. Not forever. You poke the fire. Sparks rise like dust into the sky. You watch them float upward. Vanish. You imagine your offering doing the same, rising. Disappearing. Being received by something. Historians still argue whether such acts were symbolic, instinctual, or the first threads of belief in an afterlife. For you, it's none of those things. It's just a feeling, a tug in your chest that says, they gave to you. Now you give back, even if no one sees it, even if no one thanks you. You sleep with a full belly and an odd sense of peace. Like someone out there knows. Not a god, just a presence. And tonight, that's enough. It happens during the storm. Not a big one, just a squall that blows in fast, spits rain sideways, and throws a few angry growls across the hills. You huddle under the overhang with the others. Your fire a smoky mess of embers. Then, crack, a flash of white, a sound that doesn't boom so much as rip the air apart. You all jump, every one of you, and when the light fades, you see it. The stone is broken, not just cracked, shattered. The tall stone, the one you and others have been circling lately. The one you carved the little eye into last week. The one someone else left a leaf on top of. As a joke, or maybe not. It split straight down the middle. Blackened and steaming. And you all just stare. No one touches it. No one speaks. Because even without belief, even without language, this feels wrong. Here's your historical fact. Some megalithic and standing stones from prehistoric times appear to have been venerated, perhaps as markers, symbols, or proto-altars. When damaged, they may have inspired early ideas of divine will or punishment. Fringe tidbit. In several early cultures, lightning strikes were seen as the touch of the divine, marking sacred or cursed ground. Some trees and stones struck by lightning were left untouched afterward, preserved like relics. You shuffle back from the broken stone. You're not afraid of gods. You don't know gods. But still, your gut twists. That stone had become a something. Not sacred, but noticed, used, shared. You watched it. You made eye marks. You touched it like it could remember you. And now? Now it's been split in two by something bigger than you. Historians still argue whether early people saw objects as imbued with spirit, or whether those feelings emerged from repeated contact. Memory. In meaning, the line between tool and symbol is thin. And tonight, it's shattered. Someone places a branch across the broken halves, as if to say, we see this. We acknowledge it. You add a pebble. Someone else pours a little water. It's not a ritual. But it's not. You lie awake that night, thinking about the stone, not what it was, but what it became when it broke. Things that break feel different. And sometimes, more alive. You squat near the stream, sharpening a stick against a rock, when the thought slips into your mind like a shadow. What if someone made all this? The water, the trees, the sky that never falls, the fire that doesn't die unless you let it. You shake your head, like you're brushing away a bug, but it lingers. What if the warmth from the sun was on purpose? What if the stone that split wasn't just struck, but struck for a reason? It doesn't scare you, this thought, not yet, but it tingles, the way an old burn still remembers heat. Here's your historical fact. The earliest inklings of spiritual belief may have begun not with gods, but with questions, primitive attempts to assign intention to nature's patterns. Not, who is doing this? But, is this being done? You toss the sharpened stick aside and look around. Everything feels slightly arranged. You pick up a pine cone. Hold it to the light. It's too perfect. The way the pattern spirals outward. The way it fits in your palm like it was shaped just for your hand. Fringe tidbit. Some archaeologists argue that symmetry and fractal patterns in nature may have played a key role in triggering belief that humans saw harmony and inferred purpose. Your brain is starting to do that now. You start seeing ifs. If the fire gives warmth, does it want to? If the moon comes back every night, is it choosing to? If the dream showed you a face, was that intentional? Historians still argue whether belief emerged from gratitude, fear, or the basic human discomfort with randomness. But right now, randomness feels insufficient. You can't explain why some roots heal and others hurt. Why some people survive storms and others don't. Why the stars make the same shapes over and over. So you whisper it to yourself, barely louder than breath. What if someone made this? No answer comes, but the wind shifts, and suddenly, maybe that's an answer. Or maybe you're just ready to believe there could be one. The sky has changed again. The stars shift just enough to make you pause. You've seen this before. Nights where the moon is smaller, or brighter, or gone entirely. But now, you're tracking it, not just seeing it. You sit with a bone in your lap, one end scratched with notches. You press your finger to the newest mark. That was the night the dream returned. That was when the lizard laid its eggs. That was when the stars in the east first formed that crooked line. You're building a pattern, even if you don't have the word. Here's your historical fact. Prehistoric peoples tracked celestial events using bones, stones, and carvings long before recorded language, marking solstices, phases, and alignments with increasing accuracy. They weren't guessing, they were observing. And now you are, too. You glance upward. One star winks brighter than the rest. You point. Someone else follows your hand. They grunt softly, like they've seen it too. Then, from the trees, an owl. Silent, sudden, it crosses the clearing. lands on a branch, looks straight at you. Someone whispers something, not a word, but a sound you've all started using for watching. Fringe tidbit. Many early cultures developed the idea of omens by combining pattern recognition with coincidence. If the stars align and the animal comes, it must mean something. You don't say it means anything, but you feel seen. And that's new. You place a stick beside the fire in a new direction, aligning it with where the owl perched. You sleep on that side tonight, just in case. Historians still argue whether astronomy led to astrology, or vice versa. Did we watch the stars first and then invent meaning? Or did we create meaning and then watch for signs? Either way, you're watching now. Waiting, even, for patterns to repeat, for animals to cross your path twice, for wind to whistle the same note it did last time. You're not looking for God, but you are looking for something. Because now, when you tilt your head back and see the sky, you don't just see stars. You see questions. And that might be the oldest kind of worship. It's almost morning. But the fire's still glowing. Not big, just a soft orange hum. Like the coals are dreaming. You sit cross-legged, watching the sky melt from black to deep blue. Everyone else is asleep, but you're wide awake, heart quiet, hands still. Not out of fear, not hunger. You're just feeling. There's no God here, no statue, no prayer, no name for what's curling warm in your chest. But it's there, the sense that something bigger is circling the edges of your life. Not a face in the sky, not a voice in the wind, just something. You glance over at the grave. A pebble offering sits beside it, left by someone else last night. You didn't see who, but that doesn't matter. They did it because it felt right. Here's your historical fact. Belief systems didn't start with gods. They began with gestures, hunches, and small acts of reverence. The earliest spiritual behavior was subtle, scattered, and deeply personal. Fringe tidbit. Some anthropologists suggest that before organized religion, humans may have held animistic worldviews, seeing presence or spirit in trees, rocks, rivers, and the wind itself. The world wasn't ruled by gods. It was God. You stand, stretch, take a step toward the stream. The water glows silver in the dawn light. You dip your fingers in, raise them to your forehead, not to clean, not to cool, just because. It feels like a greeting, or maybe a thank you. You don't know who you're thanking. That doesn't stop you. Historians still argue where belief truly began. Was it burial? Fire? Stars? Dreams? Maybe it was this. A breath. A hush. The possibility that something is watching. Not judging. Not guiding. Just with you. As you walk back to camp, the others begin to stir. Someone adds a log to the fire. Someone else hums the tune from days ago. A child laughs in their sleep. You sit down, close your eyes, and feel it again. Not belief, not faith, but the moment before both. The fire is just embers now. Soft and slow, casting a gentle pulse across the earth. You settle into the quiet. Your breath evens out. Your thoughts stretch longer, like shadows at dusk. The wind sighs across your face. Not cold, not warm, just present. You've wandered through a world with no names, no gods, no stories to explain the sky. A world where thunder is just sound, dreams are just flickers, and death is just absence. But inside all of that silence, you began to feel something. A rhythm in the stars, a weight in the dark, a tug behind your ribs when the fire flickers in a certain way. You couldn't name it then. You don't have to name it now. Because belief doesn't always arrive with trumpets or temples. Sometimes it slips in gently, through the way you place a stone near a grave. Or hum into the dark. Or watch the moon rise and whisper nothing to no one. Sometimes, it's just the pause before you eat. The glance you share with someone who also saw that shadow move. The stillness after lightning. Let that feeling settle into you now. Let it fold itself like soft cloth over your shoulders. Whatever you believe, or don't believe, know that there was a time before all of it. And in that time, humans didn't reach up to worship. They reached inward and wondered. So close your eyes, breathe deeper, and sleep under the same sky your ancestors once stared into.